Live. Are we live? Hello, hello, hello. Does anybody see me? Can anybody hear me? Oh, okay. We are live. All right. It was delayed on my end. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Red Devil Experience. I am Eric, your host. We have a numerous amount of topics. Manchester United may potentially be looking to sell Marcus Rashford and Scott McTominay. That is coming out today. We have huge, big updates following the announcement of Ten Hag staying at Manchester United. Further details have come out about what has gone on during that process. There are contract updates. There's a couple things surrounding some other players and a couple other minor updates. So we're going to get into that. I see a lot of people are in here already. Shout out Richard. Shout out Ray. Stephanie was in here. She was the first one, I think. Anthony's with us. Lyle's with us. So good to see everybody. I'm glad you're all here. Glad you could all make it. So as you can see up on the screen here, Manchester United will reportedly listen to offers for homegrown players. Marcus Rashford and Scott McTominay. Mason Greenwood will leave this summer. That's coming out of Mail Sport, so obviously we take it with a little bit of a pinch of salt. There was no report from a David Ornstein or a Fabrizio on this yet or today, so we will see. We will see with that. Just a slight smaller update on that is that the Times Sport has also said something which they're a little bit much more credible than the Mail. So Manchester United would consider selling Marcus Rashford this summer if he pushed to leave. So a little bit different, slightly the same, but slightly different tone. So my opinion on this is I don't think Rashford will leave. I don't think he wants to leave. And I'm going to go more with what the Times is saying here than what the Mail is saying, really, is that I don't think Marcus Rashford wants to leave the club. I think he wants to stay. Therefore, he will stay, regardless of whatever offer comes in. Although I would sell Scott McTominay. I would move him on. I think it's good money. The same as Mason Greenwood. It's pure profit. Academy player. You could probably get maybe 30 million, 40 million for Scott, and 30, 40 million for Greenwood, and that's, anywhere from 60 to 80 million pure profit for both those players. And we really do need that. There was some minor reports. I couldn't find it, so I couldn't put it on the screen, but I did see it earlier today that, there was reports that our budget is 35 million. There was a report that our starting budget is 50 million. I still don't believe that. It had to do with the managers, that some of the managers turned it down because they were surprised about the budget. Listen, I know we're not in the greatest financial situation, but there's no way that we only have 35 to 50 million. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I think it's more. They kind of do this every year anyway. They always play around with our budgets. Couple people put out and they say that it's 50 million. A couple people come out and they say it's 100 million. And then some person puts out that we have 150 million or something. So, again, I think the standard budget, even for our situation, I still believe it's somewhere close in the 100 million region. Maybe it's 80, maybe it's 70. Or maybe it is 100 flat. Maybe it's a little bit over 100, but I don't think we're at 35 million. That's absolutely ridiculous. If we're at 35 million, we can't really be looking at any of the players that we've been looking at. Obviously we have to do player sales and all that, but all the players that they're looking at, we can't even afford one of them. So if the budget was really that, regardless of player sales, we would only end up signing so many players, and I don't think that is. What are you guys saying in the chat? Lyle, I'm doing good. I hope you're doing good. No, hopefully no red cards today. Yeah, hopefully not. That was my fault. I have this mic here, and I was playing. I was touching it yesterday, and it's a little bit sensitive, so I think it cut out the sound. So I'm gonna not do that. Axe Lord is here. Axe, good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Axe is asking me, is Rashford desiring to leave? At this moment, he is not. It has not been reported that he is desired to leave. I personally don't think he is desired to leave. I think it's just an indication of, even the post that he put up. Now, some people call that PR, and they don't like it very much, and it is what it is. But I think even if you just take the smallest indication of the post that he put, after we won the FA Cup final and all that, I think he loves his club very much. I don't think he wants to leave. I think if he wanted to leave, it would be very evident and very, um, it would be very clear that he wants to leave. I don't think he's ever wanted to leave. I think, at the end of the day, football is a business. Sometimes there's business tactics. So that whole thing with PSG, I don't think he ever really wanted to go there. I think he used it to get, the contract that he got, negotiation wise, put a little bit of pressure on the club, have a little bit of a firm hand in negotiations. So I don't think he ever wanted to leave. I don't think he wants to leave. I'm a fair believer that he really does love this club. There's no club bigger for him than Manchester United. And while he has had a horrid season, and while the fans are on his back, and he suffered abuse here and there at times and moments, I don't think he wants to quit. These guys, at the end of the day, they are professionals. They've been competing their entire life. You come through the youth system, you compete from the youngest age at a high level for your age group. And these guys are competitors. They're not quitters. So I don't think Rashford wants to quit. Um, you know, Study with me is here. Study with me, saying, bro, he would be good at PSG. Maybe he would be good at PSG. And you know what? Maybe he does need a new, fresh start. Sometimes things, you know, take their course, and they're at the end. And sometimes you have to move on. Um, but I still don't think we've necessarily hit that point. I still think that next season, Marcus Rashford will have a better season. I think things will turn around for him. Now, if they don't, there is a big discussion that will have to take place, and that will probably be that he probably has to go, and it's over for him. So I think, I don't think it's just that time. Marcus Rashford has had times at Manchester United where he's been very good. Following season, not as good or bad. And then following that season, better or great, right? And it definitely has been throughout his career. But he's been fairly consistent a lot too on certain parts. Like, he's had some good seasons back to back as well. But lately, the past like three, I think it's three seasons if I'm correct. It's been hot, and cold. All right, so four. Um, I think that's how it's really gone. So I'm kind of expecting him to jump back. If he doesn't look happy, if he doesn't look good, if he looks like he's struggling, then he's gonna have to make the decision for himself as well. Um, and then we could talk about that as well. What are you guys saying in here? Ray saying, before we move this two players, we have a lot of dead wood to move on. I mean, yes, there is a lot of players, Ray, that need to be moved on. That are more on the deadwood side. I would argue Christian Eriksen is one of them. In my opinion, Victor Lindelof. I think even Casemiro for his age, and wages. Who am I missing here? I'm missing one or two players that I would definitely get rid of. But Sancho has to go. Actually, we have a slight update on Sancho as well. So, Anthony Rosin, if I'm saying your name right. If I said it wrong, I'm sorry, but I try my best. Rosin saying Anthony fidget spinner. Yeah. The problem that I keep saying about Anthony, and I'm not like defending him and like, no, we have to keep him 100%, because I get the Anthony, get Anthony out thing. The thing with that is it's just a tough transfer out. Now if they can do it, they can do it, and get somebody else in. But it's just going to be a big loss for the club to write off 2 seasons. You might still have to do it in operating in the correct way. You have to sometimes just cut your losses and move on. But he also has a big wage, and just the things around him hasn't been great. He's had off-field issues, he's had on-field issues. So I don't know really what club would really be interested and also going to want to take on that wage. The focus right now that seems like it is selling Sancho and possibly getting Elise in to replace Sancho. And maybe Anthony stays for one more season, and then maybe after this season, depending, if he does good or bad, or maybe just it doesn't matter. They move him on after that. But we have to see. Lyle's saying Ericsson was super good before the Andy Carroll, so yeah, but yeah, I don't know what's been up with him. Every time I seen him, he looks like he's lost. He's looked like he's lost a little bit of himself. He looks sort of weak. He looks off of his game. And now I don't know if that's because he was out for a while. And he's a little bit older, so it's hard to get back up to speed. Maybe at that age. But I think what Ineos are looking to do. Um, go with a younger core, a younger group of players that can really run, players that can really fight. These couple of these older guys, I think they need to be moved on. So I think Christian Eriksen, you move him on. And we go forward with the younger guys and move forward at this point. Study with me saying if Rashi goes, then Scott should go too. Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, in my opinion, anyway. I would keep Rashi for at least one more season. And see how it goes, and then go from there. But Scott McTominay, in my opinion, Scott McTominay should have been, even though he did, good in terms of making impacts this season for us. He scored some important goals this season. He was a big factor in many games. He's probably saved us points as well in different games. I still believe that Scott McTominay should have been sold last season. I think it was foolish of the club to not accept the 40 million. Because they wanted 50 or whatever it was they were asking for. And I would look to move him on, in my opinion. I don't think his best position, in my opinion, is literally playing up top in the box, and it just doesn't really fit because we have Bruno and we have Mason Mount. Of course, if Mason Mount stays fit, then it's an even bigger problem. Where I would get rid of Scott and get somebody that can play more of a box to box or a CDM or something like that. Um, they don't pass the ball enough because he loses the ball frequently. Sell McTominay and Rashi. Sadiq is in here. Sadiq, good to see you. He's saying sell McTominay and Rashi. Stephanie saying have to replace Varane as top priority to address left back and center mid with top players, first team starters. Yeah, no, for sure. We can't leave that gap of Varane unfilled, and I'm fairly confident Ineos are gonna fill it because they are looking at some very high quality options at center back. It's been a strong focal point. If we could get some cover for Lisandro as well, in reality, I would like two center backs. Because I want somebody that can cover Lisandro just in case Lisandro suffers some type of injury. Because we do not have a left footed. We don't have an extra left footed guy, and we don't have somebody that's even remotely similar to the job that Lisandro does. When Lisandro plays, Lisandro does things that's in his game that it cannot be replicated by any other player that we have at this club. Not even Varane. Varane plays his own game, but he doesn't do things, and it's the little things like Martinez does. So we definitely need that. The left back for sure, because there's always the concerns. Luke Shaw is going to get injured, unfortunately, even though I think when he is available and he is fit, he is one of the best left backs. but you know he's gonna get injured because he gets injured every season. For the past 10 seasons, and CDM is a must. We need somebody. And we need depth. We need depth. We need to build this squad out as well. So you know, first team starters for sure. Um, Anthony's talking about Anthony. He's saying Anthony has the mentality more than Rashford has, but somehow he falls short. I will give him time. He will come true. Um, yeah, maybe. You know, Anthony is a fighter for sure. You know what I mean? And he shows it on the pitch. The problem is he's lacking in his ability. And just translating that into being impactful on the pitch. Um, you know, both players have suffered things off of the pitch. I think Rashford suffered a little bit more. And again, you know, every player is a different person. They are a different personality. They are a different upbringing. They are a different, thing. Now, I think Marcus Rashford needs a little bit more of an arm around the shoulder type of person, where Anthony is definitely more of a fighter. Um, but I think when you get Marcus Rashford in the correct state of mind, in the correct atmosphere, or just feeling, I think Marcus Rashford can be just as equally as good in terms of like the fight mentality, and trying to do things for the club. Um What are you guys saying? Lila's saying, yep, big season ahead. For a lot of players, we don't get to sell Rashford, Anthony, etc. Anthony saying the more Rashi stays and flops, the less likely that we get something tangible for him going forward. Well, that is kind of true. But I don't expect Rashford to have that bad of a season. Like his season was bad. Um, I, I actually don't even think it was the worst in term of output, because he did score some goals, even though like his performance were dreadful. But I do expect him to do better. If he doesn't, he doesn't. And we have to deal with it. But I think there's something there to take the gamble on. It's not like a total loss. I really don't think so. I don't think so, because we've seen this before from Marcus. We've seen it happening again. So you could argue the same thing as well. That, listen, what if he has a great season, and then they decide to, he gets a lot more interest, and maybe they decide to cash in on him then anyway. And then we could potentially make more money. Well, we got to take it as it comes. But I think there's something to work there with Rashford for sure. Um, Study with me is asking me Amrabat keep or not. I would probably keep Amrabat. I mean, it's 15 million, right? If I'm not wrong. Um, I liked what he showed at the end of the season. Obviously in the beginning of the season, I wasn't too happy about him. He looked very slow. He looked very off of it. He looked like he couldn't meet the Premier League standards. But what he showed at the end of the season was actually a very good player. I liked his game. I like how he, just was disruptive in that midfield. He's annoying to players on the ball. He breaks up their play. He puts in a tackle. He puts in a foot on them. And we needed that, because we were kind of missing that for quite some time, especially with Casemiro having to play center back because we lost all of our defenders. So, um, I wouldn't be against it, but I still think, if you keep Amrabat, I still think we need another player. For sure, because like I'm saying, squad depth. It's all about squad depth. We need to build the squad. We talked about this for many, many weeks before the end of the season. We don't have a real squad. We don't have a real team. We don't have a full team. We need a full team to be able to compete. We need a full team to be able to be serious. I think we have a decent starting 11. And once you start going beyond that starting 11, whether it's injuries, whether it's out of form, you have to take all these things into consideration. There's going to be players that aren't going to be doing well. There's going to be players that do well. There's going to be players that get injured. There's going to be players that might be out for the entire season. There might be issues that happen with a player outside of football that takes him out of the team. And that's the reason for the squad depth is the most important. We have to have the best squad depth with ability. So yeah, that's the main focus for me. We need to get as many high quality players as in as many positions as possible, and we go from there. We go from there, and then we keep improving on top of that. Stephanie is saying both local lads won't want to leave United. Ball is in their court to shape up or ship out. Yeah, neither of them would want to go. Scott McTominay at the same time. Not. I said it about Rashford, and I didn't say it about Scott, but Scott's the same thing. Scott loves Manchester United. Scott doesn't want to leave Manchester United. He cares about the club deeply, and he does give it his all when he goes on the pitch. It's not a personal thing that I would ship him out or get rid of him. I just think that it's strictly in a football manner, football business. That's what I would do. I think it's decently good money. I think it's important for the FFP and all that stuff. Um, and I feel like you could also get somebody a little bit more better in terms of quality. Going forward. But again, it is kind of in their court as well. But it is reported that United are going to be at least listening to offers. We know Ten Hag originally wanted to sell Maguire and McTominay, and the club didn't get that done for him. I don't know if Ten Hag is changed his mind maybe on either one of them because of the seasons that they had and the things that they've done this season. But also, Ten Hag is also set to take a bit of a back seat when it comes to transfers. And we're gonna get into that. Um, there's a lot of chats going on today, so I'm trying to keep up. But if I miss something, it's not on purpose. Um, Stephanie's saying blend of youth and experience is the best mix, keeps everyone on their toes and hungry. Absolutely, you always need a balance. Right? Anything in life you need a balance. You can't have too much of one thing. Too much of one thing is never a good thing. So you have to try and find that nice balance between younger players, um, and experienced players. And they gotta figure that out and sort it out. Ray's saying, don't forget we have more young players. They need playtime. Yes, we do have a bunch of academy players. And interestingly enough, Erik Ten Hag did do some minor comments that United put out talking about the preseason tour, pretty much saying that if you want to see the young players, more players like a Kobe Mainu, like a Garnacho that haven't really gotten their opportunities, said come out to the tour and you'll be able to see them because the plan is to bring them through. As well as Ineos seem to be the ones that really um, keep pushing this youth thing. They like that. They want to see the youth come through. They want to develop these players. They want to turn them into the best players possible. So, I think there is a main focus on the youth that hasn't kind of been there always in the past recent years, which is a good thing because everybody is aligned and they're going in one direction on that. So we should see some more younger players coming through. Um, Richard saying we need to get this right in this window. Absolutely. We cannot afford to mess this window up. We cannot afford to do the typical United thing where we stall and take our time and mess around and mess about and miss out on targets. We need to get our guys in. We need to get our guys in. And Ten Hag did say, or there was a report that came out that Ten Hag in his meetings with Ineos has told them that he wants all of the targets again, because he said this the first year he came in, and um, he said this last summer as well, that he wants all the targets in before preseason, and that is the goal. So I guess that's how I'm going to judge them as well. I want to see how many players we've signed in what positions, um, and ready to go for preseason. That's an important thing to look at as well. Axel is saying we actually don't have a young left wing to replace Rashford. Garnacho. Garnacho is the young left wing that would take over for that. The problem is we wouldn't necessarily have somebody to compete with Garnacho at that point because Garnacho wants to play on that left wing. Garnacho, that is his side. It's been his side, but the problem is that Marcus Rashford is the senior player. Marcus Rashford technically only plays better on the left. And he only really wants to play better on the left. And in my opinion, Garnacho, if you were to stick Rashford or Garnacho on the right, I would stick Garnacho on the right because Garnacho can play on the right better than he does Rashford. He can impact the game a little bit more. You know what I mean? So we need a Richard saying we need a full squad to compete. Exactly. That's the major thing that I'm looking for here is to build out a squad. I'm not really solely focused on one individual player per se. It's about the amount of players that we can get in positions that are qualities. How do they complement the team based on the way that they play, the identity, the style of play, and all of that. This has to be the year that we actually build a real identity with a philosophy and a plan behind it. And if Ineos can establish that early in their first transfer window, I believe we will be on a good path going forward because it's something that we haven't really had. It's, in my opinion, the reason why we are in the mess that we've had. We've chopped and changed. We've never stuck to a plan. We've never had a real plan anyway because there was no real the details of the plan were not really there. It was just more of just winging it and going with it, and the identity wasn't great. Um, we need to get competitions between players on the same position. Well, I think we already have some competition. But yeah, more competition is good. And for certain positions as well. For sure. It's never a bad thing, and that's the point of getting players that are um you don't want to go and be like, get that player and, he's certified bench player. You want a guy that is like, well, he's good enough to possibly start. He's good enough to start over the guy that we already have. And that's where the competition comes from. You don't want to get a guy that is just strictly a bench player. It leads to a little bit of less competition, If you get somebody in that's really threatening that can take that person's job, that's going to lead to some high competition in there. Plus, you already know that means their ability is pretty good as well. Anthony saying we should recreate a mentality, mature team going into the season without sentiments. Stephanie saying even though Chelsea didn't have a good season, they are efficient in player removal and getting decent prices for their sales. United appear to leave it too late in recent times during the window. Well, we haven't we've barely gotten rid of players in the past, and this is something else that I'm going to be looking for Ineos to do and judge to do, not only for the fact that they have to do it because we need to do it because of the money, but it is important. It's something that we haven't done, and I think our situation is a little different than Chelsea's. Chelsea is trying to operate in a certain way. Unfortunately, we're owned by the Glazers, and the Glazers were really running it like a pure business. Players are assets, they're walking dollar signs, and they would make decisions based on money, club valuation, and the book balance and those sort of things, and not football decisions. Ineos is supposed to be the opposite of that in terms of, okay, they might be trying to save money. They might be trying to, help the Glazers in terms of working with them and stuff like that. But in terms of making decisions based on, purely financial decisions and not a footballing decision, they supposed to be, or at least we hope that they will be different. And I think that's why we're going to see some different things, The United Way is in here. United Way, glad you could join us. Hope you're doing well. Big up everybody, they say. So, yep, big up everybody that's in here. And thank you, everybody that smashed the like button already. Greatly appreciate it. Helps us out a lot. So, and if you haven't subscribed and you want to join our community, please subscribe and turn on the notifications so you know when we go live and you could be with us every time we are live. Now, chat. Erik, that's Dean. Who, the United Way? Is Dean? That's Dean? What's up, Dean? So we have a couple more updates. Let me get to this because we actually have a lot of stuff. So I wanna okay. Alright, that's Dean. Alright. We have a lot of stuff that I gotta cover. There was a huge article from The Athletic about Ten Hag and all these updates. So let's get moving, and then I'll circle back to the chat in a little bit because I want to fire through this a little bit. So Erik Ten Hag is expected to ask Manchester United to sell Jadon Sancho. We touched on this a little bit yesterday. Um, we did say, that's pretty much Jadon Sancho done and dusted. Um, I don't think he's gonna ever apologize to Erik Ten Hag. So therefore, Erik Ten Hag has probably made this decision, and he's like, listen, Sancho's made up his mind. He's had multiple opportunities to apologize and come back. I offered it to him. He hasn't taken it. We can't have this guy, in limbo anymore. I need another player. It's one less player out of the squad, in the squad that we already said it isn't strong enough. So he's gonna have to go. Now we have updates here. Also on Mason Greenwood. Following that little tiny update that they said that he will be leaving the club. And this is from Graham Bailey saying that Manchester United made Mason Greenwood decision during the end of their season review. Sir Jim Ratcliffe said the club had considered bringing him back, but he won't be returning. United want 50 million for a permanent deal. They would consider a loan. And I know there's been some strong links to Juventus in the past couple of days. So, I think I think it's the correct decision. We've talked about this already. He hasn't played for us in about, what is it? It's been 3 years now. We've already pretty much moved on. He's already pretty much moved on. He went on loan. I think in the beginning he really wanted to stay. I really think he didn't want to go anywhere else. I think now that he's gone on loan to Getafe, I think he liked his experience there. I think he's come to terms with a little bit of, it's okay. I don't have to go back to Manchester United. I can, continue my life, my career somewhere else. And it's probably the best for both parties. So, plus there's also the FFP aspect of it that we get the pure profit from it. So, it's a shame that he was that talent and the things that transpired that has led to him no longer being a part of the squad. And losing a talent in terms of football like that. But it's been a significant amount of time now, so I think it's just time for everybody to move on. And we can use that money, and maybe we could get a Xerxes or something of that type, and we can add them to the squad. And I don't know if this is part of the show or not, so no. Okay. Mason is another Ravel Morris. You think so? Amrabat keep for 15 million, Sadiq says. Stephanie's keeping count for us. She's saying 12 likes, 17 watching. Thanks, Steph. Now, let me get to the Ten Hag updates because this was a lot of stuff. So bear with me. There's like about 10 different things that we got to go through here. So I'm going to try and get through all of it, and then maybe we could talk about it. So as you can see, this came out early in the day. Today, talks between Manchester United and Erik Ten Hag's agents are already underway and advanced, with all parties anticipating an agreement on a new contract. That is from Fabrizio Romano. Sky Sports coming out and saying Manchester United officials met face-to-face with Erik Ten Hag to tell him that he would be staying. The meeting, described as very positive. Talks over contract extension will continue with plenty to discuss. So Erik Ten Hag is going to get that contract extension. I think it is going to be for 2 years. It's been reported a 2-year contract extension. So he will be here for another 3 years if everything goes well. And if it goes great, maybe even longer because they might extend it even further. So following that, we had a little bit of an update here that this came from the Times Sport saying that Sir David Brailsford was the man who was most keen to keep Erik Ten Hag, which is, not like biggest breaking news, but I find it interesting because I did listen to Sir David Brailsford for a while. When it was announced that he was coming with Ineos, I listened to a lot of his podcasts or podcasts that he was on. I listened to what he thinks, the way he speaks, his philosophies and stuff like that. And this doesn't really surprise me because Sir David Brailsford seems like one of those people that when he does see there is something there to work with somebody, he will most likely back it. And I think, like we argued a lot that, there's been good things with Ten Hag and there was some bad things, but good things, good things. I think he's seen that in Ten Hag, and he's seen that there is things that we can work with here. There are good things that this man has done, and how do we unlock those things further? Because he likes his marginal gains and improving 1% and stuff like that. And I said the same thing as well for him and Marcus Rashford, which is why I don't think Marcus Rashford will necessarily leave, because I think he looks at a player like Marcus Rashford and he sees that there is high quality there, but there is an inconsistency and there are problems. And Sir David Brailsford seems like one of those people that would look at a Marcus Rashford and be like, you have something to offer. We just need to figure out how do we get the best out of you on a consistent basis and get you to the best possible position. Um so I think, I didn't find that like surprising, but it's good to hear because I think Sir David Brailsford is a smart man, and also was through a committee, so which we're gonna get on to. So this is coming from Hers Class and Char Dunkner. They said Erik Ten Hag and his advisors are expected to take a bullish approach to contract negotiations with Ineos. Ten Hag will not blindly accept what is put in front of him and wants to feel empowered and not to be a lame duck manager. So he wants signings to be made that improve the squad, and he wants them to be through the door before Manchester United begin their preseason tour in the United States on July 24th. So that's a pretty big update there. And that has to deal with the fact that, there was some things that came out yesterday that um, the contract negotiation is going to be a contract negotiation, and it's going to take Erik Ten Hag from being a manager to being a head coach, and that he's also going to take a back seat to transfers. Now, I clearly stated yesterday that those things are not necessarily bad, and pretty much what Erik Ten Hag is wanting or saying here is that, number one, he shouldn't just blindly accept what's put in front of him. He should feel empowered to a certain degree, right? He cannot be completely ignored. He cannot be a lame duck manager. He can't just be a puppet. He needs to have some sort of say. He needs to have some sort of pull. He needs to be respected in some sort of way. He cannot just be, a headpiece that has no power, no pull, and no say. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think he's going to be like that. I think it should be and probably will be a fair committee involving Erik Ten Hag. That's how a lot of these clubs operate anyway. And that's probably the proper way to operate. Some clubs are a little bit different than others, depending on the situation and how they're owned and stuff like that. But yeah, for sure. Axelot saying, I'm glad that they made the right decision and have decided to keep Ten Hag. It took them unnecessary time and effort, but I view it as a wise choice. Giving him a new contract is a must to show. Yeah, and actually, you just reminded me, Ax, on that point. Somebody pointed it out yesterday, and we were all viewing that situation. And maybe this is spin. Maybe this is a little bit of PR from the Ineos side, right? But it was more of an opinion from somebody, and I didn't view it as that way. But after I read what they wrote, I was like, you know what, that kind of makes sense. And I'm gonna paraphrase a little bit here and put it into my own words. But essentially, what they were saying was, if you look at the way the whole process went, Erik Ten Hag has essentially gone through a whole process of being hired all over again. Um, he I know he was our manager already, but he held talks and basically an interview with Ineos, and then Ineos went and talked to a bunch of other candidates for the job. They've evaluated that entire list of candidates and all those managers, and at the end of it, they've come out with that the best decision was Erik Ten Hag as the manager over all the other managers that were available. So if you look at it in the way of, let's just say Erik Ten Hag wasn't the manager, right? But he was available as the manager. They've essentially picked him to be the new manager. So he's outbeaten everybody. He's gone through basically another hiring process. That's what this essentially was. It's a little bit unconventional. I don't think we've ever seen that at a football club before. You know, is it the worst thing? I maybe not. I think it's good to be thorough. They did take a while, but actually, when you put it into perspective, the Glazes, strict ownership with Richard Arnold and Ed Woodward, they took ages to make decisions. I mean, to fire Solskjaer, to sack Solskjaer, they took about a month. They didn't have a plan. They didn't know what the hell they were doing. They didn't know who to hire after. That was a bigger mess than this. This took them a couple weeks, and yeah, we were a little bit angry about it because we didn't feel like it was necessary. But um, at the end of the day, I'd rather them be thorough and evaluate all the options and get the correct decision right, and move forward and everybody be on the same page than just do a half-assed job and move on to things that aren't gonna work out. Richard saying because I lost it here. Oh, they have to give him a new contract to show faith in him. Yeah, absolutely. That's also another point. They have to give him another contract. Pretty much. You can't have him go into next season realistically. We would have been okay with it, but in terms of the public and everybody else, they would have jumped down his throat. Literally, the media would be all over it. It would be a huge distraction. And we don't need distractions. We don't need distractions when we're going into a really serious season ahead of us, and it's an important season. It's going to be a meaningful season. And we need to try and be at our greatest and have the least amount of distractions. So they have to do it. Um, Richard saying he thinks he should have input. Yeah, he should have input. Every manager should have input. You can't not have it. It would never work if you have it would never work if you have a manager that has no input. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. It would be a failure from the beginning if that's the case. And I don't think I don't think that Ineos are going to be the ones that are going to be like, no, you're just like a puppet. We're going to completely ignore you. You know what I mean? I just think that they want to be in a little bit more control because we did give Erik Ten Hag a lot of control because, the people before Ineos didn't have a clue what they were doing. So, um, Axel was saying those things are positives, less job responsibilities, more job crafting. And yeah, I think, Erik wants a little bit of that. I think he was fine with what he had at Ajax, right? I just think Erik Ten Hag wants to make sure that he's not going to get completely shut out, which is understandable. It's 100% understandable. You have to look out for yourself as well. But I think Erik Ten Hag, he's not a stupid man. He's smart. Um, and I think he will know when something is fair and when something is unfair. You know what I mean? And I think he can be reasonable as well. Like I think he is willing to work with things and be flexible with certain stuff. So yeah. Richard saying the thing is that all the people who want Erik Ten Hag gone, he is not getting a free pass. Nope. He is not. But that's all right. That's all right. That's all right. That's why you got to get those performances. You got to get those points, right? That's how you prove them wrong. That's how you shut them up. At the end of the day, and that goes for him. That goes for all the players. That goes for everybody. Goes for everybody. You're always gonna have haters. You're always gonna have doubters, and the only way to ever shut them up, is to just perform. It's just to perform, and you perform so good that they literally can't say anything, and if they do, they just seem so, you know, not credible, or people just don't take them seriously any longer. Um, Axe is saying, but is it bad to say that we were uncertain about this interim manager, but he is very good. We just didn't understand that from the beginning. Um, I don't know if I don't know maybe I don't know if it was more of like they were uncertain, right? Um, I mean, there was questions there. There was questions there. Remember, the performances weren't great. So it's not 100% wrong for them to question that. Um, it's not. It looks bad because it's played out in the media and the way they write it out. But if you're being real, um, and you're supposed to do a thorough job, you have to ask questions and you have to look at all possibilities and you have to look at the good and the bad things. So at the end of the day, in reality, and not in media land, right, where they just want to write a perspective story to get a certain angle to make it look a certain way. I don't think it is. Bebe is here. Bebe saying, you Maskey change Greenwood to Chiesa United. I mean, I would love Chiesa, but I don't think that I don't think we're gonna give Greenwood and get Chiesa. I don't think so. But yeah, yeah, maybe it could have been quicker, right, Axe? It could have been a little bit quicker, but I still think it would have been. I still think the thing was a little bit faster than what we're normally used to anyway. The Glazers, Ed Woodward and Richard Arnold. Every decision they ever made took them a month plus longer. This was a couple weeks, and they probably could have done it faster, right? And thank God they ended it when they did, right? Um, but it is what it is. We're past it now. We're past it. It's over. So we can move on and we can start focusing on more important things. So to continue with this, because there's a lot of updates. Erik Ten Hag is reluctant to cede power to Ineos when it comes to transfers. Now, see, this is written in a certain way, but Ineos want to give more power to the recruitment team when it comes to signings, but it is written in Ten Hag's present contract that he has a veto on all potential purchases. And this is something that we were literally just talking about, is that the fact that I think Ten Hag will be willing to relinquish a little bit of that power. What he doesn't want to do is end up with absolutely zero power, with having absolutely zero pay. I think he's already discussed these things with Ineos. I think they are on a good page. I think they are on a good understanding. I think, he's talked with Jason Wilcox. I think these guys already have a pretty decent understanding of how the things are going to run. Obviously, you have to finalize them into in negotiations over the contract and have it written down in a contract. But, I at the end of the day, Ten Hag probably shouldn't really have all that power, but obviously we didn't have a proper footballing structure. Um, so, I would rather have Erik Ten Hag in charge. But now that we're getting all these guys, that it's more of a proper football structure, and you have people like Barada and Wilcox, and hopefully maybe probably I don't know when, because this is taking forever as well. But Ashworth as well. Those are three top footballing people. So they're definitely better than what we had. So they should maybe have a little bit more power. It has to be split more evenly again. So then the Athletic came with these two pieces. So let me read them out because these are the Athletic updates and they were very insightful. They had a lot of information in them. So the Manchester United season review carried out by Sir David Brailsford, Jason Wilcox, and Jean-Claude Blanc on behalf of Sir Jim Ratcliffe, which featured several conversations with potential successors before advancing to the stage of possible financials with Thomas Tuchel and Roberto De Zerbi, ultimately led back to Erik Ten Hag. And that's kind of what I was trying to say before. Like, they went through this entire process, and after basically interviewing all these candidates, they determined that Erik Ten Hag was still the best candidate out there. He was still better than all of these people that they were looking to hire. Which I get that concept because they do that a lot in business anyway. It doesn't seem like the nicest thing. People, they use a common sense mentality. They use more of like a street type of mentality, they kind of picture like, oh, if that was my friend or if that was, this person and they kind of did that to me, like I wouldn't feel like they're so loyal to me. I wouldn't feel wanted. Like, it feels messed up. Like, how can you do that? But this is a different arena. This is business. So they went about it the way they did. And that was always their plan. Now, a delegation headed by Sir David Brailsford flew to meet Erik Ten Hag in Ibiza to talk things through properly and attempt to engender mutual respect in a relationship that had been severely tested. I mean, it was severely tested. It's not like it was all rainbows and lollipops, but it wasn't damaged beyond repair. There was contrition for the way in which Ten Hag's position had seemed so vulnerable, and crucially, discussion started on a new contract to affirm his status in the eyes of players and the public, albeit exact details need to be ironed out. The frank conversation with humility on both sides allowed for a genuine resolution and renewed energy to back Ten Hag with improved environment. Ratcliffe spoke about during his first media engagements after taking control. So, I'm encouraged by that piece there because it was something that I bring up quite a lot. That Sir Jim did mention in his first interview about how that the environment for a manager was not correct, which led to me to be like, why would you then sack Erik Ten Hag, Sir Jim, if you know that the environment is not set up for him to succeed or anybody else? Obviously they still wanted to do the process that they did because I guess they wanted to assess. I guess they wanted to assess the all the candidates. Like, they didn't trust the Glazers hiring process. They didn't trust Richard Arnold and all the other people that were there that did the hiring process before they came in. They didn't trust their decisions. They didn't trust their judgment. And therefore, I guess Ineos decided, well, we want to see for ourselves. We're going to do the work for ourselves. We are in charge now, right? And we will make our own decisions. So they sought to go their own way. It was a little bit of a risk because as you could, as they said, that it could have potentially severely damaged the relationship between themselves and Ten Hag. Thankfully, it didn't because both sides were, mature human beings, and they talked it out and they understood it's part of business. And now everybody can move forward. So it's great. Then this might be a little bit messed up on your screen, but I will read it out. Continuing on The Athletic. In the days after the humiliation at Selhurst Park, United executives even considered sacking Erik Ten Hag. Before the Arsenal game on May 12th, they debated whether installing an interim coach might deliver a bounce which could take them to the European places. The game went better than expected, ending in a narrow 1-0 defeat, then followed up the trip to Monaco, where a decision was made to explore alternatives to Ten Hag. Incoming chief executive Omar Barada and future sporting director Dan Ashworth were kept in the loop. Co-owner Joel Glazer was involved. Well, that last bit I don't like. I don't know why Joel Glazer was involved. I don't like that he was involved. What the hell does Joel Glazer know about any of the shit that is going on? And it's a shame because we were told that Joel Glazer would not be involved, or Joel or Avram would not be involved in any of these things going forward. Now hopefully they stay the hell out of the transfers and everything else. Maybe he was involved in this because this is, a bigger deal. It's pretty much the face of Manchester United in terms of, being the manager. So maybe he was involved specifically only for that. It's not a good indication because that it does show that we don't know exactly what the hell is in the contract that they signed with the Glazers. And I guess we are up for surprises. So Athletic continued saying Erik Ten Hag found himself left out of certain meetings after the 4-3 defeat to Chelsea on April 4th. Some discussions on recruitment happened without him, as did calls on who to retain and release, such as Rafael Varane. So this is a little bit damning, right? Because there was a moment in time where Erik Ten Hag was pretty much almost cut out of the loop, essentially, is what they're saying. And they started to do some decisions and discussions without him, which I don't like, but I think we've moved past that now and it's gone full circle back to it. But this is something, as Ten Hag is not wanting, he doesn't want that to happen, right? Listen, it's not great, Axe Lord, and it's The Athletic, and they're probably like the most credible. So I'll take their word for it on this, but I don't like that aspect. I don't like that they went about doing that. And this is what I'm saying in my concern. They cannot do this going forward. They cannot do things like that to him. He needs to be involved. His say doesn't have to be the absolute power. It doesn't have to be the be all and end all, but his say has to carry some weight. It has to have some meaning. It has to have some power, and he needs to be involved because things like that are not okay. They are absolutely not okay. And they cannot be allowed because it would lead to failure. I'm 100% convinced on that. Stephanie's here, 15 likes. Thank you, Steph. We have to vote on a thing. I feel like Steph's gonna win it, but we will vote on a moderator. Steph's already been doing a great job, so I also still have to figure out how to actually make her a moderator because I don't even know, right? But yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that at some point. Now the other update that follows. This is a lot, so deal with me, and we're almost done here, and then we could get on to some other smaller minor things, and then we could check the news and see what's up. So Jason Wilcox began work at Carrington once John Murtaugh left, and together with Brailsford undertook an analysis of life at the training ground. Sources briefed on the matter say Ten Hag would have liked greater consultation to provide his insight on the club. Some speculate he had a I don't know that word. Reticence over Ineos implementing Manchester United game model. People sensed Ineos was looking at proposing a reshaping of Ten Hag's coaching team with attention on Mitchell van de Gaag, having concluded that the atmosphere at Carrington needed lifting. However, van de Gaag is clear in his own mind about his methods, while Ten Hag is loyal to his number two and greatly admires his work. Some observers saw this as a sign Ten Hag might not bend to the wishes of Ineos, as anticipated, but in other ways he did adapt, becoming warmer with players and altering tactics in the final weeks. So, this is a big update here because it's a little bit of an insight onto what was really going on behind the scenes, the importance of what Jason Wilcox is doing, because Jason Wilcox at this moment in time, considering that Dan Ashworth is not there, and it's not looking close for him as of right now, and Omar Barad doesn't start in July. Jason Wilcox is pretty much running the show right now, and he is probably the most important figure there right now. And he has been doing this, his work since he came in. He's been evaluating a lot of stuff going on in the club, and it's important that the fact that they had some concerns over some things, which is all right. They were looking at Mitchell van de Gaag. Obviously, Ten Hag wants his guy. Van de Gaag is his guy. He's not gonna throw Van de Gaag under the bus. He's not gonna let him go anywhere. That's his main man, right? That's his right hand man. So obviously, he's gonna stick up for him. Observers. Who are these observers? I don't know who the observers are, but the most important thing for me that came out of that is that they realized at the end that, while he may be stubborn about some shit, he's not impossible to work with. He is not a man that is going to be 110% like absolutely not, throw a tantrum and refuse to be a person that can't be worked with. And he did change maybe his ways a little bit, like they said, that he became warmer with players and he altered some tactics. Because Jason Wilcox did apparently provide, some suggestions to the squad and stuff. So, that would be this as well, which surprised me a little bit because I always thought it was Ten Hag, but according to Jamie Jackson, and there was a couple other people, this was Erik Ten Hag's willingness to accept Jason Wilcox's tactical suggestion that he used Bruno Fernandes as a false nine in United's Emirates FA Cup triumph against Manchester City was a key factor in the Dutchman being retained as manager. While it was Ten Hag's call, his decision impressed Sir Jim Ratcliffe as evidence he can work within the minority owner's new football structure. So I think that this is also pretty credible, but it's also important because, like I just said, while Erik Ten Hag is a stubborn man, and while he when he believes something, he does try to stick with it And he does want to, try and implement it the best he can. Again, I've said this numerous times. Ten Hag is not a fool. He is not a stupid man. And while he is stubborn, he is not impossible to work with. He will, when there is something intelligent, when there is something smart, he will take it into consideration. And if he thinks it's a good idea, he will change his opinion. And clearly it's there. Um, So, I think it's a good indication. And I'm actually glad that we're getting these pieces out here because it shows a lot of insight and it's important. It's important to kind of get that insight, especially after the whole thing is over. You don't want these things going on while the whole process is going on. But now that the process is over, I don't care. Give it to the press and let them put it out because the fans, I think it's important for the fans to know things like this and take this in and then be able to make up their own mind based on that. Abebe said, Casemiro, Maguire, Ericsson, Greenwood, Sancho out to United in Theo Hernandez. You love Theo Hernandez, huh? I don't think we'll ever get Theo Hernandez, but yeah, I'd be with you there on Theo Hernandez because he's great. Joao Neves, I'm with you there on the Joao Neves, and that's definitely a bigger possibility than Theo is because we haven't been linked with Theo at all. And I'm gonna butcher his name. Holmand, Coleman, Anasio, Fringpong, Kudis, and Brentwaite. Well, that is an absolutely quite a list you got there. Those are all great players. I actually like Fringpong a lot. Kudis is great, but we should have got him from Ajax and not from West Ham because it's now it probably will cost you double to almost triple the money. Brantwaite is definitely an option. Everton are being stubborn, so we got to see how it goes. Anasio is a good shout. I like him. And Coleman, I don't think Bayern want to let him go, but we'll see. On your outs, I agree pretty much there. Casemiro, Maguire, Ericsson, Greenwood, Sancho, they could all go in my opinion. As long as we get the replacements in. Axe was telling us Tuchel would have left. Absolutely, Tuchel wouldn't. That's probably why Tuchel decided he wanted to take a break. He probably sat down with him, talked to him. Yeah, he impressed, but some of the things that they probably discussed, Tuchel probably wasn't going for. It's part of the reason why he left Bayern Munich. It was probably something similar, and that's why he didn't want to continue further talks. Not because he didn't necessarily feel like he was going to get the job, and he probably felt like that because he refused to accept whatever they wanted to do. And Erik Ten Hag seemed to be a little bit more flexible. So, Richard saying the Glazers should be nowhere near this. I think it would be foolish in a football sense for them not to take Erik Ten Hag opinion into account. Yeah, I mean, I don't want the Glazers anywhere near it. That's not, what this is supposed to be. And I'm hoping that, obviously it's still a committee. So maybe they just bring Joel there for shits and giggles. Maybe they bring him in there so it's, they're there for optics. It's a business. Because at the end of the day, the Glazers are still majority owners. They still technically have to work with the Glazers. So maybe, Sir Jim made a secret plan. I hope he's being a little bit sneaky and he's like, let's get Joel in here so that, he thinks he's important and like we pretend and like we won't listen to that dumbass. Um, you know, hopefully it went like that. Hopefully, his whatever he was there doing, like he wasn't, he didn't have any absolute power in that. And it was more on Sir Jim Ratcliffe's side. But it is a little bit of a concern, and it's something that we have to keep our eye open for because we don't actually know all the details of, how that is working right now. Um, Axe was saying, well, with the number of injuries we had, I would say he has been very adaptable and flexible. To a certain point, right? I think he could have been a little bit more. I think he could have been a little bit more adaptable. There was that thing that he said at the end of the season where Gary Neville asked him, did you ever think of going a little bit more defensive because of what you suffered? And he said we thought about it, but I chose not to do it because he was like we would have to change the style, and then when we get the players back, because I was expecting players back, then we would have to change the style again. And he was like, I didn't want to do that, right? Now, he could have changed the style because we were leaking goals, we were playing bad, and we were suffering some pretty bad performances, and he could have changed it to be a little bit more defensive, a little bit more closed down. He obviously chose not to because he believed in what he believed in, and he chose to go the route he did. Now some people could argue that that was foolish of him, that it was stupid, or it was the wrong choice. Um, but he could have probably been a little bit more adaptable in that sense. But he did try different things, and at the end as well, he did put Bruno Fernandes in the false nine. I said it leading up to it. And when he put Bruno there in the match before, I think I was saying it. I think it fit the squad very well. And Rasmus needed a break before the FA Cup as well. So I think he took that on board. I think Ten Hag's gonna enjoy having Jason Wilcox to work with, because I think if Jason Wilcox is smart and Jason Wilcox is good at his job, right? This is somebody that Erik Ten Hag can have a good working relationship with, where he can trust Wilcox. And they could kind of almost be on the same page in terms of like footballing things, where like, Wilcox went to him and said, "Hey, what do you think? Maybe put Bruno Fernandes as a false nine. I think it would be good." And Ten Hag literally sat down and thought about it, and he was like, "You know what? Maybe this guy is onto something." He's like, "I actually kind of like that idea, and it wasn't my idea, but I'm gonna implement it and listen to this guy because I think it's a good point." And he went forward with it, and it worked very well. So, if things can be like that going forward, then we're good. Then we're good. It's probably the best possible solution. You know. Steph was asking, oh boy. Steph was asking, does Joe Glazer still need to sign off on transfers? I'm not 100% on that, Steph. I'm not 100% on that because of the way that this is. It's something I always wondered myself, but it's the way that it's set up, right? Because Sir Jim and Ineos are supposed to be in charge of footballing operations. So footballing operations would, in my opinion, include signing and selling players. But the problem is that they are still the majority owners. And that was a question that we never really got answered out of that when they announced the whole Ineos thing. They never said who runs the money, who is in charge of all the actual financial decisions at the end of the day. Now I would assume maybe that it would still be Joel, because technically they are the majority owners, right? And Ineos are partners with them, but they technically work for the Glazers, like Axe is saying. But yeah, it's a little bit confusing. So I don't know if we ever got the answer to that. Maybe we'll get an answer to it. I really hope that's not the case. But then again, it wouldn't necessarily be a change to the way things were going. The only difference is that, see, the problem with the Glazers are they don't know anything about football, right? But the way they were running it was like they were literally hiring their buddies to run it, and to do financial decisions, right? And all they cared about was the balance sheet and all that. Now, Ineos must have promised them something else, in their plans, like how they could probably build the wealth of the club more if you're more successful or whatever. So I guess they trust them on that front. The problem always was like the Glazers go do their thing in America, and they don't really know anything about football. At the same time, they always had somebody employed that knew absolutely nothing about football. So the people, they would make the completely wrong choices. Now, if we could have football people making the decisions, right? Even if he has to sign off on the transfer. I mean, they were pretty much signing off on all the transfers. I know they blocked the transfer or two, and I hope that can't continue because that's not correct either. But they were pretty much signing off on all transfers. They had no clue what they were signing. You know what I mean? Like Harry Maguire for 80 million, and they're signing off on it. They have no clue if that player was that value or not. They had absolutely no clue. So I hope going forward that that's not necessarily the case. I hope that they don't stop transfers. I hope that they don't stop players being sold. I hope that they can't interfere in that way, because that would just not be good, and that's, it would just make the whole Ineos thing a lot less likable. Um, Richard wants Bremer. Who will be the first player to sign? Ray says. Probably a center back. I think. I don't know which one yet. I think they really want Branthwaite. But the problem with Branthwaite is Everton are being really stubborn and they're refusing to negotiate lower than 75 million, and Ineos don't want to pay 75 million for Branthwaite. So I think it would be Branthwaite. Um, but if Everton don't budge, then it might be another player. But I think they're gonna go for the center back, in my opinion. It seems like it. So one of the center backs. Um, then Richard was saying that too. Um, Max saying, yeah, Glazers have to run the money. Ineos are more employees of Glazers. Why do you think the Sheik refused any deal involving Glazers? He figured it was a job interview for which you get to pay. Yeah, yeah. Well, the Sheik also, they're prideful people. They want to own the whole thing. And obviously the Glazers never wanted to secede full control. So that's why it was a whole ploy. They see players as dollar signs, not footballers. Exactly, Richard. The whole thing was just it was all a business operation. Now we did have a little bit more updates here, so this might excite a couple of you because I think some of you were sad last time. So there wasn't much that really followed up on this, so we got to wait and see what comes out of this. But Erik Ten Hag wants Manchester United to give striker coach Benny McCarthy a new contract. His current deal expires at the end of the month. So Erik Ten Hag is there fighting for his people. He wants Benny McCarthy to stay. He wants Benny McCarthy to be retained. He's protecting Van der Gag. He's in here for his people. So let's see. Let's see what decision Ineos make out of this, because he is all but set to leave, but apparently Erik Ten Hag is still fighting for him to stay on. I can't say exactly if I want him to go or not, because I don't see what kind of work this man does behind the scenes. The only thing that's a little bit worrisome is that we don't score goals. And we've struggled to score goals. So maybe you could judge him based off of that. But the thing that happened with Rashford and the work he was doing last season was great. Obviously it didn't come out this past season, but the first season, it was fantastic. So, I don't know how good of a striker coach he is. I know he's well liked and loved, by a lot of United fans. So maybe he stays, maybe he goes. This was a little update on Jason Wilcox here. Wilcox will lead the transfer recruitment in the summer window, and he will work closely with Erik Ten Hag on improving Manchester United squad. So as I was saying, Jason Wilcox is the main man this summer, because Barada is not going to be in place in time. He's literally going to come in the middle of the window, and Dan Ashworth is nowhere near, which we actually have an update on Ashworth. So we will get to that, but yeah, Jason Wilcox right now is the main man. So Jason Wilcox and Erik Ten Hag relationship here is going to be very important. And not only for the future, but for the immediate present as well. If they get along well, they like each other, if they can work with each other, it's just going to lead to better things for us, for the club. So Steph is saying Eric's fighting for his guys, but sometimes need to mix it up like Fergie did with his assistants. Yeah. You're not wrong in there, Steph. I just think the problem that currently is at Manchester United is Erik only came in with a couple of his own people anyway. It's not like he bring it's not like he bring a whole load of people. He only came really with probably like 4 or 5 people, I believe. Everybody else that's at the club. They were already at the club, and who knows how long they've been at the club for. They're not necessarily his guys, so I understand why he's fighting to keep them, because he's like, I didn't really bring anybody into this club anyway. Like, when Pochettino left Chelsea, like Poch is left with like, about maybe like eight other people. Like Poch had like an entire team with him, and they go with him and they leave with him. Um, Ten Hag didn't really have that. He bring in Van de Gag. He got Benny McCarthy, and he got what's his name? Steve McLaren. Um that's pretty much it. He didn't bring anybody else. So I think that's why he's really fighting for it, cuz he's like, dude, I didn't even really have anybody else come with me. I only got these guys that are really fighting in my corner. So but here's the Ashworth update that this broke as soon as we were like basically about to go live. So let's get to this. We'll put it up on the screen here. So from Mike McGrath, Grace is here. Grace, we're so glad you could join us. How you doing? I hope you're doing good. You missed a big part of the show, but we'll try and fill you in. But let's do this update here. Manchester United are sticking to their valuation of around 3 million for Dan Ashworth and are refusing to be held to ransom over Newcastle's compensation demands for their sporting director. And this is from Mike McGrath. He then went on to say Manchester United are nowhere near close to agreeing a deal for Dan Ashworth, as Newcastle United want 15 million plus add-ons for him to be released from his contract. And I'm just going to say right off the bat, at this point, listen, some people I know out there, they might be annoyed. They might say, why don't you just go for somebody else? If Ineos believe that this guy is that good, if they believe that he is that important, right, then I am okay with them doing this battle out, because 15 million for Dan Ashworth plus add-ons is absolutely ridiculous. Ridiculous from Newcastle's part. They're being bitter. They're being sour. The fact that Dan Ashworth has chose to leave them and wanted to come with us. So now they're holding out for an absolutely ridiculous fee. They don't want to, and we're playing the same games. They want to go so high, we're going to go so low. If you want to be petty, then we can be petty and we'll hash it out. And it's not, while it's nice to have Dan Ashworth in there so he can do his job, we have people coming in that can cover it until it gets sorted out. So you know what? Sometimes you got to play a little bit of chess and not checkers. And I feel like that's what they're doing here. And if they're that confident in Dan Ashworth, then play the chess. Play the chess, play the games. It's one man. We can manage it with the rest of the guys that are in here. And then we move forward from that point. David Malanda is here. How you doing? How you doing, David? Grace is just busy doing my security job outside Old Trafford, just making sure no Chelsea players turn up unannounced. Grace is doing the job of all jobs. Yeah, make sure none of them show up. Those blue Londoners. David's in here. David's good to see you. I hope you're doing well. No, Nick Cox, Axel. Nick Cox was already there. I don't know. Maybe there's another guy, not his name, but Nick Cox was he was already previously there. He's been at United for quite some time. If there is another younger guy, I don't know who his name is. I'm not familiar with him. Grace is trying. Yeah, Grace is keeping the Chelsea rejects out. Yeah. Don't let them in. We don't need them in. And then let me check the internet, because I'm pretty sure there's been some stuff that have come out and has been put out since we gone live. So there is an update right now from Fabrizio Romano that he's put out on his YouTube, and he is saying that there's more than a 90% possibility for Erik Ten Hag to extend his contract at Manchester United until 2027. 2 years plus 1 year remaining. The offer is already on the table. So this is literally breaking news from Fabrizio Romano. Just came out right now. Just said. So like I said, 3 more years if all things go well. He has 1 year left plus an extra 2 years. He would be there till 2027, and Romano is letting us know that the offer has already been put on the table and waiting to be signed, essentially. I'm sure there was a couple more things here. No, no. The transfer window opens in 2 days, so we're gonna be ready for that. It's gonna get crazy. It's gonna get hectic. Um, no. Maybe the first transfer might be Elise too, because they seem to like Elise and they don't want to lose Elise to Chelsea, so they maybe might feel like they have to do that deal first. Even though it's not in the top three in priorities, in my opinion. Okay, so about an hour ago, so basically a little bit after we went live, Gary Jacob and Times Sport have said Manchester United and Arsenal have been considering a move for Joshua Zirkzee, who has a 34 million release clause. AC Milan have also been keen. So pretty much a similar update to what came out yesterday. It wasn't the greatest update. Chelsea have signed some Brazilian guy. Some Brazilian kid born in 2006. But Chelsea, doing what Chelsea does and always moving. So we had a further little minor update on Mason Greenwood that is from Simon Jones at the Mail Sport, saying Juventus have expressed firm interest in Mason Greenwood. Manchester United value him around 40 million. So Juventus seem like that these links seem to be heating up between him and Juventus. As of right now, it seems like the most likely place he's going to end up. Let's see what happens with the negotiations, and let's see what kind of money we can get. Anything else that's important? And just by the way, Erik Ten Hag, in his managerial career, he's won 2 trophies in 2018-19. He's won 3 trophies 2020-2021 season. He won a trophy in 21-22. He won a trophy in 22-23, and he's won a trophy in 23-24. So, if we're continuing the trend, we're winning some type of trophy next season, at least one. What trophy we winning? If we're gonna win one trophy, because apparently at least one is coming. Jump back in because I've lost the chat here. Grace asking me, do you think we should get a cheaper striker like Gerse? I think it really depends on the budget, and really the plan. I don't know. As long as he's good quality, if he's cheaper, then it's all right. Really, Grace, in my opinion, I think it just needs to be somebody that can come and provide a little bit of quality, a little bit of performance. Help out Hoyland in terms of teaching him things and stuff like that. Somebody that he can learn off of, take a little bit of the load off of his shoulders as well. So if he's a little bit cheaper than some other guys, then it's not necessarily a problem. As long as they are just quality. I don't think we should I don't think we should like sacrifice like how we did maybe those 1 or 2 seasons. Like we shouldn't completely sacrifice that entire position and go 100% cheap and get somebody like Wout Weghorst, that was a loan, or Igalo that was a loan, that they weren't like the greatest. You know what I mean? Like I don't think it could be that type of quality. They have to be some sort of quality, essentially almost basically like a starter. So I wouldn't be against Gers Gersay for his say, but we have to see. We have to see. But definitely we need a striker anyway, so Richard saying, I fancy a roast dinner on Sunday. I'm going to extend the wife's contract for another year. Give put an option in there for a further year as well, just in case. So extended by 1 year, but with an option to put in another year as well, just in case the performance is that good, or yeah. Grace is saying it's going to get intense, said Adios. I believe it is. I believe it is. I think it's going to get pretty hectic going from here on out, especially once the window opens in 2 days. So, you guys think that we're gonna win the Europa League? The Europa League. Rich is saying the Europa League. Axe is saying the Europa League. Steph is saying we need more firepower. That's for sure, unless Garnacho does big numbers and Anthony and Rashford wake up. Yeah. Maybe Diallo, even maybe this will be his breakthrough season. Maybe he comes out and he starts doing some big things as well. Don't forget Diallo. As long as he stays healthy, maybe he comes out. Maybe he does some type of he does something similar to Garnacho, where he starts really putting out some extra firepower. But we definitely need Rashford to have a better season. We definitely need Anthony to have a better season if they're gonna stick around, and um we definitely need somebody to probably come in for Sancho, because essentially Sancho was part of the squad. And we are now down one player in that area. You know. Garrett gives you something different to Rashford, which is also to Rasmus. I'm sorry. Which is also good as well. And low risk. Yeah, that's good points. I think like only 17 million. Yeah. Yeah. Which is not bad. That's what I'm saying. That's actually pretty good. And you could do something like that for sure. So, why not? Just as long as he's not completely totally off it, and he ain't gonna be nowhere near the levels, and he comes in and he provides 2 goals in the season. And Rasmus is clearly better than him. Then there's nothing wrong with that, because right now, as we stand, we have only Rasmus. Martial is gone, um, and there's nobody else there, so it's not even like potentially you might have a backup here. Obviously, there's maybe Ethan Wheatley, but he's also a kid. So you have 2 young guys, and I would go for the little bit more experienced player. I think that's what we really need. Um, I think we need a little bit more experienced striker, in my opinion. Um, Steph saying begin Europa League plus defend the FA Cup and top 4 trophy. I'm being greedy now. Well, no, not necessarily. I mean, listen, we have to aim for the highest of highs, right? We need to aim for everything. It's the way you end up with something at the end of the season anyway, right? Like Erik Ten Hag did his first season. Um, he said we want to win every game, we want to win every trophy. And that's what they aim for. And they didn't do that, but they did end up at least winning 1 trophy. So it's important to aim as high as possible, but while being realistic at the same time. But I don't think you're being greedy, Steph. I think we're in Europa League. We should be able to go pretty far in that. FA Cup, we won it, so why can't we, defend it and go for it again? And top 4, I still argue that we would have probably made it this season if we didn't suffer all those injuries. Um, so if we do a pretty good transfer window this summer, why can't we get into top 4 again? I don't think it's I don't think it's completely out of the question. I don't think it's I don't think it's anything crazy. I think it's pretty realistic. Um, Axel saying sincerely, Weghorst was very good in Bundesliga, even scored twice against Argentina and got bullied by Messi. Um, yeah, but it was just wasn't great, but it was just an emergency signing, because the club didn't want to give him any money. The Glazers always ignored January because it's a business and you never spend quarter one. No matter what they say, they would never say that, but that is the truth of why they do what they do. And he needed to do something because we literally were screwed. So, I'm just using it as a comparison. Like he was not it. And we cannot have that at Manchester United. I mean, even though he is a nice guy, and I appreciate him for coming there and trying to do something for us. Um, we need levels above that type of level. Steph's letting us know we've hit 16 likes, which is great. Absolutely fantastic. Grace saying we are winning everything next season. Hoyland is scoring 54 goals next season. Jesus, 54 goals. That's a lot of goals, Grace. Is that in all comps or just the Premier League? Please tell me at least in all comps. Give him a chance. 54 goals. I wish and hope he would score 54 goals. That would be great. And I wish and hope we are gonna win everything. But we're not. But we're gonna have we have to at least give it a try. We have to give it a go. Ray's saying we need to find players to feed the ball to Rasmus. Yeah, that's another thing too. But also we need to play like that as well. Um, we need to play in that way as well. Um, I feel like when you're in training and shit, right? And like, if you're the manager or you're training the players or whatever, and you notice in the matches that they don't really feed Rasmus as much as you probably want them to, or maybe as much as they should. Um, you make that a permanent issue in the training and tell them feed him the damn ball, give him the damn ball. Like you're not giving him the ball, give him the ball, and you keep telling them that until they give him the damn ball. So I think there was a couple different reasons. One, I think the wingers, they're not the most creative, they're more inside forwards, but I think also like, and this is the point of the whole false nine thing, is because I think actually in the way we were playing, and Ten Hag has done this at Ajax, his striker is not, I guess, what you would say as more of a traditional Manchester United striker. Um, for the most part, they were almost in similar ways to Wayne Rooney, where like they drop back, they're a little bit all over the place, and they do a little bit of everything, which is why I argued that Bruno Fernandes could play in that false nine. Because Bruno is better at dropping back, picking up the ball, and being able to create plays off of it. It sucks the center backs in, and it allows the wingers to cut inside, which what they like and what they do. So I think the game plan also has to shift a little bit more to Rasmus as well. I think Rasmus is a guy that wants the ball in and around the box. I think he wants to be fed. I think his game needs a little bit of improvement on terms of, you know, um, dropping back, picking up the ball, and then making a play or two off of it. He can do it, but I think it still needs to be, improved. So, Ray's saying, yeah, so I agree. So, then you have to stop playing with inverted wingers. Well, yeah, that's also another thing as well. Garnacho's really two-footed. Rashford is the one that's inverted, and Anthony is the most inverted because he can't use his right foot except for that one goal, which somehow he scored with his right foot, and nobody ever knows. I don't think he knows how he scored that goal. But he did. But I'm adamant, and I will continue to say this even going into next season if he's still here, that I want to see Anthony on the left because I just don't think the right works for him. I think maybe it worked at Ajax, but it ain't working for him at Manchester United. I want to see him on the left and let him use his left foot and let him be more comfortable and like let's see what he does. Um, but maybe that doesn't work because maybe he always wants to cut inside and shoot anyway. So yeah, it's pretty much a problem. Which is why they might be looking at Elise. It's maybe why they've made up their mind and they've already looking at Elise because Elise will probably be one of the more creative guys out of almost everybody we have, you know. Um, Axelord saying, "What do you mean quarter one?" So the quarters of like business cycles. So you have January, February, March is quarter one. It's like for businesses, you know what I mean? Then April, March, April, May, June is quarter two. July, August, September is quarter three, and then October, November, December is quarter four. The years are split into quarters. It's 3 months, and it has to do with business and books and stuff like that. That's what I meant by quarter one. So that's why Manchester United never, Manchester United say there's no value in the market in January. There's no money available. The business is hard to do or whatever it is, and it might be slightly difficult. But if every other club can bring in one or two players in January, we can certainly bring in one or two players in January. They use it as an excuse because they run it purely as a business, and purely as a business, you never want to spend a certain amount of money in quarter one. Businesses generally don't do that. They don't spend a lot of money. They actually balance their books. They try to clear up a lot of excessive things. So, in certain areas, people get fired from their job to cut on wages and stuff like that. So, when I say quarter one, I mean it's because it's January, February, March, and the Glazers are looking at their books talking about, well, we can't spend this 30 million or 40 million because it's not good for our books or for our business. So we can't spend that money. But as a football club, that is a stupid thing to do. And it's not a footballing decision, as we've talked about. Where he's saying Fergie said, feed RVP or you won't play to the players, and look what happened. Yeah, they fed him. He was never hungry. He was never starving. RVP, that's for sure. He was fed quite a lot. He was definitely not hungry. Rashford would have been proud of the way that they fed him. Rashford needs to do a better job of feeding Rasmus like he feeds the children, he should feed them the same. He's saying Axe is saying he's a pressing forward exactly like Rooney. Yeah, they just I think they're playing. Axe is saying that is very interesting, but what do you mean by books? Like kind you read, or no, it's okay, Axe, if you don't understand. Like business books, like where they write. So like the books is like they write their transactions. It's like financial ledgers pretty much. So it's like where they have their balances, spend, how much they make. It's more of like I mean, they might have an actual book, although I would assume these things are online now, but it's more of just a term, like, yeah, accounts. There you go, Stephanie. It's like accounts. It's more of a term, you know what I mean? More of a term to balance your books. It's not like I mean, in the old times, I think they used to write them down in actual books and walk around with them, which is probably where the term came from. But now we have, computers, electronics, and all that stuff. So I don't think anybody's walking around with an actual physical book and writing it down in there. But yeah, it's more of just a term. It's to balance your books. But yeah, like Stephanie said, it's their accounts basically. They're spending, their how much they're making, like income wise and all that stuff. So all of that good stuff. Grace is saying, let's be real, Rashford is a Wigan player. Grace, he's not a Wigan player. Grace is savage with her opinions. He's not a Wigan player, Grace. Come on. I know he hasn't been good, but he's not a Wigan player. That's a bit harsh. That's a bit harsh, Grace. And she does make me laugh with her opinions. I like them very much. I like them very much. I grew up around some very rough around the edges type of people. And they've always said some very strong opinionated things, so I'm kind of used to it, but I also like that type of stuff. It humors me. So but Grace, he's not a Wigan player. He's not a Wigan player. Come on, Grace. Axe is saying, so like Excel. Okay, yeah, something like that. So why not spend in January, February, March? It's just the thing that businesses do. I mean, I'm not like, I'm not like a business expert per se. I know, maybe a little bit here and there. Um, I don't know the actual reason. Like I can't tell you like exactly it's for this reason. I just know it's something that they do. If you Google it later on or maybe look into it a little bit, but I know a lot of major corporations like Apple and Microsoft and all these big companies. Um, they all operate like that. Amazon, they all do that. They all do that. So whatever that actual reason is, they have a reason for it. I just don't know. So it's the end of the financial year. Um, great Grace is saying. So what about a Salford City? But I think that's worse, isn't it? Isn't that worse? I don't know how bad Wigan's become, by the way, but I know at least Wigan used to be in the Premier League. That's worse, Grace. That's worse, right? I don't know how bad Wigan has become. Where is Wigan anyway? Where they ended up? Steph's saying Willie Morgan fell out with the doc. He was a great player too. Yeah. Uh, Axel is saying it is because income starts from January onwards, so you can get on negative if you spend big in the beginning. I think it's something like that. Don't quote me on that, but that sounds something like that. I don't know. I have to look into it really. Let me just check the internet. Let me make sure. We got. Why is the playback not playing back? Okay. Anyway, I'm not gonna worry about that right now. Let me just check because every time we end, there's always something new that comes out, and it doesn't come out when we're live, which then upsets me because we can't talk about it. So there is a rumor, and I know this has nothing to do with that, but there is a rumor that Manchester City might be reportedly activating 100 million release clause for Bruno Guimaraes. I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous at this point. And then they want to sue the Premier League. Like, you guys are the ones that are you guys are the ones that are running around doing whatever you want, not us, not everybody else. You they are the ones that are fucking ruining everything. It's absolutely insane. I hope they lose that case because if they don't, it's gonna be all over. But there hasn't been any other news. I'm in somewhere here, so let me see. Uh, so yeah. There's no more updates. So Richard's saying so Black Friday is called that because business started bringing their books from red into black. Yeah, I gotta go into a little bit more detail. Of that I only know like the basic. So businesses were in a negative, a loss, okay, and got their books into positive by selling their assets. Okay, that makes sense. Salford are 20th League Two, Wigan are 12th League One. Oh yeah, so it was worse. It was worse. I mean, I knew Salford was down there, right? But I didn't know actually where Wigan went. I didn't know what happened to Wigan. I was like, damn, did Wigan get that bad that they're worse than Salford now? Uh, but yeah, all Stephanie saying all city transfers should be 115 million to match the charges. Well, actually, if you like little coincidences and tidbits, um, we do have to play Manchester City when the season starts back up for the Community Shield, as I'm sure you were aware. The most interesting part about that is, obviously, Manchester City have 115 financial charges or breaches, right? And um, that match the Community Shield match will be Erik Ten Hag's 115th match in charge of Manchester United. So pretty fitting if you ask me. Erik Ten Hag's 115th match in charge of Manchester United will be against the club that has 115 charges. You can't write that shit. It's pretty ironic, and I find it a little bit hilarious. So Axe is saying, isn't Salford owned by Class of 92? Yes, they are. Grace saying, I used to work with a lot of football guys in my old job. They were stupid. Arsenal or Chelsea fans. Plenty of banner. Oh, really? What what'd you used to do, Grace? If you don't mind telling us. You don't have to if you don't want to. But, we're just saying if the Premier League allows City to get away with this, then football is screwed. Absolutely. I mean, for me, they should be absolutely. The fact that you've been charged and the fact that you can sue the Premier League and then complain about the things that you're complaining about, talking about an unfair majority and all that stuff, um, like who the hell are these guys? Who do you think you are? Um, I know I don't like this authority. I don't like this authority that they're trying to assert because it goes into a whole thing of the Saudi Arabia, the way the country is run, the way they operate, the way they do their things, and now they have the connections with the UK government, and they've moved in there, and they have all this money. It just seems like a whole bunch of bullshit, really. I don't agree with any of it. Grace said she used to work in a warehouse driving forklifts, loading trucks. Oh, nice. I used to work in one of those too, as well. I no longer do, but yeah, I used to work in a warehouse driving forklifts as well. Good times, good times. Unfortunately, my place didn't have any football fans, even though yours had stupid Arsenal and Chelsea fans. But at least there was banter, kept the day probably flowing, a little bit of fun. I don't have that same luxury over here. I said there are football fans here, obviously, but it's not as common. And then also, like I said before, like it's hard to find people that are as passionate about it as I am, I guess. There's some people, but there's not a lot. Like, I've ran into a lot of people that they're like, yeah, I'm a United fan. They watch a couple games here or there. And then there's other people that are like, yeah, I'm a Chelsea fan, I'm an Arsenal fan, I'm a Liverpool fan, this and that. And you know, you can tell very quickly. You start talking to them about it, and within like 5 minutes, they seem very disinterested on the whole topic. They don't have a lot to say in terms of just football. They don't have like strong opinions. So it's always been a struggle here. But it is what it is, and that's why we have the best online community now. So I come here. I come here for you guys. I come here to do it here. So, um, I, yeah, stupid is an understatement. Yeah. So listen, I think we're gonna end it there today. This is getting a little late. We've been live for almost 2 hours. So, good show. I think it was good. We had a lot of updates to get through. It was a lot of information. I look forward more to the transfers coming through now. Transfer window opens in 2 days, or maybe a little bit less than 2 days now, slightly. But yeah, 2 days. So I expect the transfers to start ramping up. To start really moving in that aspect. We could put the manager stuff behind us. The contract's going to be signed soon. Per Fabrizio Romano, it's already on the table, so expect to get that announcement fairly soon. And then once that's completely done, be 100% transfers. So I'm excited. I'm ready to go. I got a lot of stuff. It's coming down to crunch time. I got a lot of stuff going on. A lot of last minute things I got to do before I, go on vacation. So I'm gonna, I will be available. I will try. I don't think we will go. What's tomorrow? Thursday. I don't think we'll go. You know what? I will probably see you guys Saturday. Saturday. Because Friday I won't be available, and I don't think I'm gonna do one tomorrow. Um, so I will probably do another live stream Saturday. So until then, unless something major breaks, like if we sign a player, then I have to go live. But Friday I definitely probably won't be able to because I won't be around to do it. So but other than that, thank you guys for being here. I greatly appreciate you guys. You guys have all been fantastic. Um, I think we were supposed to vote on a moderator. I don't know how we can actually do this vote. I feel like we should just make Stephanie the moderator if she wants to be. Does anybody else want to be a moderator? Um, because maybe I could just get anybody that wants to be a moderator specifically, and then I could kind of put them in a poll, and then either we just make them all moderators, or we vote on one moderator, and then we go out from there. So, because Lions, who isn't here, wanted us to do the vote, and but he's not here. But he voted for Stephanie, so and so did Lyle. So I don't know, but we could do that, I guess, whenever you guys want. It's up to you guys. It's up to you guys. Um, yeah, you let me know. But other than that, it was a great show. So glad you guys are good. Great Grace has not been not that bad, and he bought me a double vodka. Oh, that's good. That's good that he did that. Axe is saying he's Ineos out if Rashford is sold. Yeah, and that might be a little extreme, Axe, but teach your own. You're allowed to do whatever you want. Breaking news: Rashford seen in Belfast again. You're okay. He was out somewhere dancing. The mail put it out, but I wasn't there for that. Obviously, he's not involved in the Euros, and it's the off season, so he was out somewhere in a club. I don't know if it was really in Belfast again. I didn't click on it because I wasn't interested. I'm not interested in that shit. Um, I'm not there for hit pieces. He's allowed to do what he wants, especially now out of the off season. Yeah, yeah. The papers have to talk about us always, always, always. So you know, um, can I be a mod? Grace, you could be a mod if you want. I guess if you want to be a mod. Um, I need to figure out how to make you guys mods. I don't know how to do that. That's the biggest problem. And then also as mods, like I know you can like do certain things, but like what is your ultimate power as a mod? Can you like shut down my show as a mod? Can you like kick me offline? No, I'm joking. But oh, I can add you as a moderator. Look. Who wants to be a moderator? You know what? Forget the but listen, this moderation comes with power, right? Don't abuse the power. And yeah, be responsible with the power, okay? Be responsible. Don't do things that are crazy, Um let Stephanie and Grace do it. Okay. Steph, you want to be a moderator? I'm okay with you being moderator. I just want to make sure that you want to be a moderator. So if you want to, I will. And here I figured it out. So I could add Grace as monitor. Managing moderator can manage blocked words and change chat modes in live, and also has capabilities of standard moderators. Standard moderator can review and remove chat messages and hide or put users in timeout. Change chat modes in what does that mean? Change chat modes in live. Oh, like to make it in slow mode and stuff like that? Yeah, I'll just give you guys managing moderators. Grace is now a managing moderator for your channel. Stephanie. Oh. Yeah, that's true, Richard. That's true. All right. Stephanie, add as a moderator, managing moderator. You get full abilities. All right, so there we go. It's official. So Steph and Grace are our new channel moderators. So, um, which is good because I think Steph's been doing a good job, and Grace is good too. So, and I did say that Grace was going to be our security at some point when once the idiots find our channels at some point, right? Um, she's gonna have to be our security as well. So, and and yes, of course, Stephanie. So both of you are now my moderators. So it's good to have you in there. It also keeps it civil as the channel grows. You need to get the trolls controlled. Exactly, that's what I'm talking about. So I did say that last time. I said Grace is gonna be our bodyguard, right? Grace could be our bodyguard. Stephanie does a great job with keeping up with the likes in the chat. Um, she said I'm 5'1". I will bully all of you. See, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. There, it's tough as nails. Tough as nails. I like it. I could tell. I could tell. But, I can't hear her tone. I can't see her, right? But I could tell by the way she says things. I could tell she's tough as nails, and so that's why she's gonna be our bodyguard. And Steph does an excellent job. Just keeping up with everything with the views and the likes and just being here. And she was the first one here today. So um as well. She's really been on top of it. So I agree. I agree with the community as well. It's not just my decision. You guys said to do it as well. And nobody opposed. So therefore that's what it is. So congratulations to both of you. And I'm glad to have you as my moderators as well. We have mods. We have great mods. Yes, we do. We have great mods. And I'm sure the rest of the community is the other guys that have missed out, they will find out. I'm sure Axe and Lyle are gonna be. I mean, not Axe. Lion and Lyle, the two L's, they're gonna be happy about it as well too. So, um, yeah, it's a good way to end the show. I said we were gonna do it. So, I will see you guys later. I hope everybody had a good stream and enjoyed it, and I hope everybody stays safe. Um, and we will most likely catch up on Saturday. Probably around the same time that we've been going live. I think that's a good time to continue going live. Otherwise, be safe, stay good. Take care of yourselves. Um, Relax, get some rest, get some sun if you have sun wherever you are in the world. That's good for you. So we'll see you guys later. And thank you guys for again being here. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for coming in and giving me opinions and talking to me and talking with each other. I always greatly appreciate it. So, and Richard, yes. By the way, if anybody's on Twitter, I don't know if you guys use Twitter. I don't know if you're in the football Twitter thing, but if you're in there, me and Richard have followed each other. If you want to follow me, you can follow me at UTDSTEEZE, or United Steez at United Steez. So you could do that if you want. I'm pretty active on there. We have a channel one as well, but it's kind of a lot. It's kind of a lot for me to do both. So the channel one is kind of just on a hiatus, and I really use my personal one. So we can interact on there as well. Non streams if you want, if that's something you're into. If you need to remember the name or whatever, just put a comment on the show or something, and I'll get back to you. But otherwise, enjoy the rest of the night, guys. Be good, stay safe. I'm gonna go eat. I'm gonna go work out, and I will catch you guys later. Thank you to everybody, and yeah, we'll catch you on the next one.